Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs, where we do the finale for Iron Fist. To give my final thoughts, we've done all the episodes, we've seen the season, so now it's time to get into final thoughts, and hopefully this won't be as long as the other videos, but who knows. So first things first that I'm going to answer, because I already know a few people are asking, am I still in agreement with the rest of the internet that this was the black sheep, the runt of the litter of the Marvel Netflix line? No, I'm not. My overall thoughts after seeing this season is it's actually one of the better ones. If I were to actually rank them, I'd probably say this was second to me. The first would be Daredevil Season 1. I really like how that set up the stakes for Daredevil. Then it would be Iron Fist, and followed by Luke Cage Season 1. Nothing against Daredevil Season 2 or Jessica Jones Season 1. It's just, unfortunately, I had a lot of major problems with it. For Jessica Jones, it was the major gore factor that had to happen, and I know why, but it was really hard to sit through to watch. And the other one was Daredevil Season 2, and most of that is just because I feel too much of a spotlight was put on Elektra and the Punisher. And I know that why it was done for Frank Castle, because eventually we are going to get a Netflix Punisher series, I believe. But I wanted more of the focus to be on Matt Murdock, and I don't feel like Season 2 really did that as well. I mean, it had some really great moments, but unfortunately it just didn't maintain it. So, yeah, I don't agree with the internet. I think Iron Fist is just fine. I think it's one of the better seasons out there, especially given the subject matter that it tries to take on. And I would recommend it to anybody, especially if you're a Marvel Netflix fan. I have no problem recommending this to you. As far as performances go, I actually have to have my phone here to remember all of the actors, because I want to give them all props. As far as best performances are concerned, I know Finn Jones got a lot of crap from the internet, and so did a majority of the cast. Finn Jones, I had no problem with. I think he portrayed Danny Rand as perfectly as you could. If I were to actually give one word to his performance, it's unbalanced, and that's not a knock by any stretch. That's what Danny is at this point. 80% of the season is Danny unbalanced, unhinged, trying to figure out how to deal with his own personal problems, getting over the death of his family, as well as recognizing the mantle of the Iron Fist and trying to understand, how this shapes his destiny. I think Finn did a really great job. I will admit I'm one of the few people that wishes we actually got a costume out of it, but I've since seen a lot of the Marvel executives' discussion on that, as well as Finn Jones. Apparently, the early Chinese footage is actually stuff they shot with him in the costume, and I don't hate it, but I can understand why they decided they weren't going to go with it. I hope they do something in the Defenders to make him look like Iron Fist, but that's just me. I also want to recognize Jessica Henwick. I think she did a really great job as Colleen Wing. David Wenham as Harold Meacham. I love it whenever David Wenham is in a role. He owns the screen at that given moment, and Harold is no exception, especially with how unhinged Harold gets later on. He did a really great job. My other one is Wai Ching Ho. I wanted to give a major props to her as Madame Gao. I've enjoyed her since Daredevil Season 1 and her discussions with the Kingpin. And I thought the fact that she got a lot more screen time in this was a great idea. And it's been really awesome to have her have those moments where she's not necessarily a mentor. She's not necessarily an enemy near the end. So I wanted to give major props to her, and also to Rosario Dawson, who's really the thing that's connecting all of them together, is that they all come into contact with Claire, and that shapes her overall. Because we've been seeing it since Daredevil Season 1. I think she showed up in Daredevil Season 2 as well. I may need to double check that, but she shows up in Daredevil Season 1. Jessica Jones, she shows up. Luke Cage, and finally Iron Fist. We get to see so many changes in her character as she comes to contact with these heroes, and thus decides to start doing something. Like, we started from being just a nurse, she wouldn't hurt anybody, to her literally picking up the claws at the end of the season and going, I believe these are mine, kind of thing. So I really do also appreciate Rosario Dawson. I think she's done really great in all of these shows, and she's the one connecting factor for all of them. And hopefully the lead in to Defenders. Like, I hope she's the person that calls them all together. But that's me. The only complaint with performances that I would have is Tom Pelphrey and Jessica Strupp as both Ward and Joy Meacham. And here's the thing. I don't know if I'd necessarily blame it on them as actor and actress. I think these characters weren't written very well. Ward, for a majority of the series, is very blank. He either goes from blank and emotionless and blah, blah, blah to I'm really mad! And that's really hard to watch a lot of the time. Joy also kind of has that issue too, where she goes from very blank to kind of mean girl. Because every time she has the truth revelation, like somebody's lied to her, she immediately is like mean girl mad at them. And that's, I feel like there could have been a whole lot more character development done. And I was hoping that when Harold got into the picture with Joy, we were going to get that out of Joy, but not really. Things very quickly went back to the way they were. I can at least say with Ward that we got a difference at the end where he feels more fragile, he feels more unhinged because he doesn't have that guidance anymore. But unfortunately, if I were to actually say what drug down this season for me, it was whenever Joy or Ward were on camera. And again, I don't think it's because of the acting. I really do think it's because of the writing. I don't think that the writers really had anything good in mind for them, and maybe should have just stuck with Harold. I don't know. That's really my only complaint with it. I love the fact, I loved the Bakudo arc. I love the fact there was multiple villains. We had Gao, we had Bakudo, we had Harold, even to some extent Davos. And also, I do want to give some props to Davos. Who is the actor that played him? Sacha Dhawan. I wanted to give props to him because even though he's not in the series that long, we do start to get like the hintings that maybe he's not as noble as Danny has made him out to be. And I think that was really well performed, especially in the scene with Claire where he recenters his chi and we get to see him a little unhinged, but then he goes back. It really showcases the problem with Kunlun and raising these warriors. So, yeah, overall, I think the performances were pretty solid. There were a couple of actors and actresses that dragged everything for me. I would even dare say to some extent Bakudo did because, well, he kind of comes off as more happy-go-lucky cult leader than he does evil ninja. I love the fact at the end, we had him with a katana in his hand. I'm like, is Mr. Rogers really that scary? Because that's how he comes off to me the entire time, is he's like this Mr. Rogers character. Or when we don't even know he's hand yet, he comes off as like a Professor Xavier character. And so I know that that's part of why, but his scenes kind of drag the plot for me a little bit. And yeah, my final thoughts are I love this season. I'm looking forward to the Defenders. I hope there's an Iron Fist season 2. I want to see what Danny does next in his own stories. And I can wholeheartedly recommend this to anybody who is watching the Marvel Netflix stuff. If you haven't, I would say start from Daredevil and work your way up because you have to get used to the gore factor. You have to get used to the fact that this is not necessarily a properly edited this is definitely not a family-friendly series. None of them are. And it's something to definitely get used to, but if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you're not going to have any issue. And I think that's going to go ahead and do it for my finale review of Iron Fist. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey. Thank you so much for continuing to like, comment, and subscribe to all of the videos that I do. I really do appreciate it. I would not have what I have if not for you guys on YouTube, and thank you so much for doing that for me. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next video.